Hello, my name is Brian Lawson, and my advocacy speech is on crime in America. Major cities across America are reporting a 50% increase in homicides since 2019, and a 36% increase in aggravated assaults. In New York City, crime is spiraling out of control. The rate of serious crimes is up 35% since 2021. This problem isn't just contained in our inner cities. Suburbs are becoming new targets of violent criminals. People are being robbed at gunpoint in broad daylight as they go about their daily business. 80% of women, 74% of men in Portland fear being physically assaulted when they walk down the street. These criminals know that there is no penalty for their crimes and no impotence on their actions. There are various solutions offered by the masses. Some say we should amplify our police force, starting a new war on crime. Some say we should defund the police, which has various meanings depending on who you ask. Some say we should focus on crime prevention, things like making the risk-reward factor for criminals less favorable. Sure, these things help fight crime, but we need to terminate it. We need to root out the weed and slaughter it like the parasite it is. The problem in America is that morality is not commonly shared. It is rare that two people agree on the same morals. Some person's virtue may be another's depravity. This is why our laws are backed by morals, and punishments for crime are open to change. Make no mistake, this isn't a speech promoting arming our citizens, even though I do think that will tremendously reduce crime. This isn't even a speech advocating for the increasing use of the death penalty, even though I believe that also helps reduce crime. But this is a speech urging for the most fundamental law of human nature to be revitalized and applied in our courts. I'm sure since you were a kid you've heard of the Golden Rule. It's mentioned in Matthew 7:12. So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Treat others how you want to be treated. It's simple. If you hit your sibling, your mom would ask you, do you like to be hit? And you'd probably say no, and then apologize and then get spanking. If you break something, you replace it, another universal principle people abide by. However, there is one thing America is obsessed about: equality. We sought it, we're seeking it, and at this point, we'll probably never stop. But we have a narrow view of equality. We perceive equality as women having equal rights as men, blacks receiving equal treatment as whites. Everyone's voice is being heard in this democracy. Those are good, but what about when it applies to crime and punishment? Does the criminal deserve the same or even worse consequences for the crime he has committed? Now he might be labeled as an extremist. Ever since the beginning of time, even before the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, in Exodus 21:24-25, mentions eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. There was something called Hammurabi's Code. It was written about 1750 BC by Hammurabi, the 6th king of Babylon. It was a collection of 282 rules that established the standards and requirements of justice for that nation. The most famous line in that set of laws is, if a man puts out the eye of another man, his eye shall be put out. I use this because not only it came first, but it shows that the secular world shared the same beliefs with the ancient Christian or Jew at that time. The Golden Rule becoming a universal principle. And you still see it practiced to this day, most notably in nations with the least crime. In Sudan and Qatar, the punishment for stealing is amputation. In Nigeria, Ukraine, and South Korea, the punishment for rape is chemical castration. In China, Iraq, Egypt, and Japan, the punishment for murder is execution. While it's in America, we are more lenient on crime and more technical about the rules. Here, the degree of murder determines how long your jail sentence is. In our court of opinions, who the judge is, and how good your defense attorney is, are major factors in determining your punishment. There is no golden rule. There are lots of little rules that establish the punishment for a crime. And as the Roman historian Tacitus put it, the more corrupt the state, the more numerous the laws. Some would argue that it is an absurdity. It is barbaric. We are humans, not animals. But may I present you with 1 Timothy 1:9-10. Knowing this, that the law is not made for the righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly, for the sinners, for the unholy, and profane, for the murderers of fathers, for murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine, whether Christian or not, the logic still upholds. There would be no barbaric crime without barbaric punishment. There would be no barbaric punishment without barbaric crime. Not only does punishment serve as justice for evil, but sends a message to others, just like the bat signal. It is not a call, but a warning. Ecclesiastes 8:11 says, because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily, the heart of the children of man is fully set to do evil. If you look at cases like Dr. William Pettit and others, we see the punishment does not fit the crime. Life imprisonment does not fit rape, murder, and arson, thus devaluing crime. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm advocating is the return of the golden rule in our courts, the most fundamental human law to be resurrected and restored in a nation obsessed with equality. Thank you.